It's the early hours of May 8, 1945, the very last day of the war in Europe. Lieutenant Robert Bobby Sinclair is leading 6 P-51 Mustangs on a fighter sweep towards the Prague area in occupied Czechoslovakia. Their target is a camouflaged Luftwaffe airfield believed to be launching desperate last-minute attacks against advancing Allied forces. In the distance, Sinclair spots the airfield through the breaking morning mist. Target in sight, boys. Arm your .50 calibers and get ready for a strafing run. The American pilots prepare to attack, adrenaline pumping as they line up their powerful long-nosed Mustangs for the dive. But at that very moment, they receive a transmission that changes everything. All aircraft return to base immediately. The war is over. Germany has unconditionally surrendered. I repeat, the war is over. The radio erupts with explosive cheers. Hell yeah, we did it. It's finally over. We made it home, boys. Pilots let loose in pure celebration, hurling their Mustangs into victory rolls and victory loops across the Czech skies. Laughter and relief fill every cockpit after years of brutal combat. Some pilots even fire their guns into the empty air in joyous release. As the Americans head home in high spirits, a group of German fighters watches them from high above in the clouds. Hauptmann Dieter the Phantom von Lang, a veteran Luftwaffe pilot who lost his right arm in the skies over Normandy, feels the familiar phantom pain burning through his missing limb. He listens to the surrender order crackling over his radio and watches some of his younger pilots obediently turning back to base. Von Lang's heart fills with rage and a deep sense of humiliation. This is the end of everything he has fought for. This is his final chance to strike one last blow for the fatherland before everything is lost forever. And he makes a fateful decision. Hauptmann von Lang shoves his throttle to the firewall and dives aggressively out of the sun at the celebrating American Mustangs. For the Reich. To the last bullet, he screams into his radio. His squadron of advanced FW-190D fighters follows him immediately into the attack, supported by the remaining fanatical pilots who refuse to accept the reality of surrender. The Germans have a 4,000 feet height advantage coming out of the sun. Tally-ho! Many rats 6 o'clock high, diving. Sinclair checks over his shoulder. All of you dump your tanks and rockets. They are breaking the damn ceasefire. The American Mustangs snap around and lead into a climb to meet the attackers head-on. The German planes are armed with heavy 20mm cannons, but Sinclair knows the German armor is paper-thin. If his Mustangs fill the sky with lead from their 6.50 caliber guns, they might just stand a chance. The pilots line up their targets as the two sides close the distance at enormous speed. Then they open up, hurling a wall of lead as the formations slice through one another. For a brief moment, Sinclair locks eyes with von Lang. We already got 3. Break off into pairs. The Mustangs split up. Sinclair and his wingman dart and weave his 2 FW-190DS blast cannon fire towards them. Break. I'm going right. Sinclair dives, building speed. The German pilot stays with him and he becomes locked in a spiraling duel, each man trying to pull the other into his gun sights. There's only one way out. Sinclair waits for his moment, muscles tense, eyes flicking down to his airspeed and altitude gauges. Then he pulls back violently on his stick, dumping speed and climbing high. The German plane pulls up after Sinclair. Sinclair's engine growls in protest and the G-forces push him back into his seat. For a moment, he's brutally exposed as he flies across the German pilot's nose. Rounds flash past his canopy, but Sinclair holds his nerve, turning round and watching as the German fighter shoots beneath him, fast and vulnerable. The German plane stalls, flipping over and beginning to fall. Got you. Sinclair's aircraft slows almost to stall at the top of the climb. He pulls hard on the stick, and the weight of his engine pulls him down towards his target. The FW-190 fills Sinclair's gun sight and he pulls the trigger. The Mustang's guns hammer and streams of lead rip through the German fighter. Flames burst as the fuel tanks ignite. The aircraft snaps onto its back and then falls away trailing thick black smoke. Sinclair eases back on his throttle. His breathing returns to normal and he scans the dogfights raging around him. Boss, I can't shake him. It's his wingman, 22-year-old ensign Billy Carter. Carter has a German fighter glued to his tail, and he is throwing his aircraft from side to side as he desperately avoids the incoming rounds. Sinclair slams his throttle forward and races back into the fight, diving down upon the German fighter. The enemy never sees the Mustang approaching from above. Sinclair lines up his shot and pulls the trigger. Round after round slams into the FW-190. It explodes, sending debris arcing across the sky. "Thanks, boss. I thought I was a goner." "Keep your eyes peeled. Plenty more out there." And he is right. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Theodore Ted Hansen and his flight leader Lieutenant Maurice Maury Proctor are facing off against 3 FW-190DS heading straight towards them. Hansen sends out a blast of machine gun fire ripping towards the first enemy. The rounds tear off a chunk of wing and the German plane goes twisting towards the ground. A second German pilot fires, but sends his rounds high over Hansen's canopy. Hansen adjusts his aim and shreds his enemy's nose and fuselage. But the third one is still coming, unloading round after round. Hansen doesn't have time to line up his target, so he rolls over to the right. But behind him Proctor is ready, and as the German plane passes he has a clear shot. Proctor guns down the German fighter, severing its wing and sending it crashing down to earth. But there is no time to savor victory. Over the radio an urgent message comes in from a nearby dogfight. "I can't shake him." It's Saloff. A third pair of American pilots, Lieutenant Joseph Saloff and Ensign Eugene Mandelberg, are under heavy fire from a German fighter. Their planes are taking hit after hit. Then Saloff spots an explosion. Mandelberg's Mustang falls in flames. More rounds pepper Saloff's plane. Inside the FW-190 locked onto Saloff's tail, the German pilot is confident. He takes his time, shooting the American plane, staying firmly on target. He doesn't see that another pair of American pilots are diving down to help. Proctor slides in behind the German fighter, his guns opening up with a burst of machine gun fire. The German pilot feels the round slam into his plane and he goes spinning to the ground. Proctor pulls up next to his friend. The damage is obvious. Saloff's engine is sputtering. The wings and tail are riddled with holes. "Get out of here, Joe. Head for the sea. I'll cover you." They roll away and head for the edge of the battle zone. But Saloff's propeller falters, and the nose goes down and then drops in a rapid descent. Saloff fights to control his damaged aircraft. Warning lights flash and gauges spin out of control. He wrestles with the stick, but his control surfaces just won't respond. "Come on. Bail out." They see the parachute fall from the plane. The altitude is so low that they see him splash into the sea. Note the position. He's on his own now. Bandits incoming. 6 German fighters streak towards them from the front. On our 6-2. The 2 pilots climb into the clouds for cover, pursued by a storm of enemies. The cloud thickens and they lose sight of one another. There are too many of them. "I'll see you back on base." Across the skies, another pair of Mustangs is already racing to the coast. Sinclair and Carter also try to escape, but they are now alone. Hauptmann von Lang comes bursting out of the sky. Right behind him, his wingman lurks waiting for a moment to strike. "I'm on the leader." It's a perfect ambush and Sinclair has no time to react. He pulls on the stick, but he is too late. Heavy cannon rounds slam into Sinclair's aircraft and he feels the Mustang shake beneath him. "Damn it, I'm hit bad. Break off, Billy. Break off." But Carter doesn't break. He guns his throttle and turns straight towards the attackers. He fires a burst at von Lang, but he's not properly sighted and the bullets spray uselessly by the German aircraft. Von Lang ignores the incoming fire. He stays locked on his target. He lets loose with another burst of cannon fire which strikes the Mustang dead center. The Mustang explodes, leaving nothing but a cloud of smoke and falling wreckage. Sinclair. Carter narrows his eyes. He dives after the German ace blind with rage. Carter pulls von Lang into his gun sight and fires. Machine gun rounds punch into the FW-190's wings, but the German ace gets himself clear. Carter is so focused on von Lang that he doesn't check his 6. Take out the American demon. Carter doesn't see von Lang's wingman dive in behind him until the rounds slam into his aircraft. Shrapnel flies through the plane and smashes into Carter's body. Flames lick around his cockpit and he knows he has to get out. Injured and straining hard, Carter manages to open the canopy. He leaps out of his stricken aircraft and falls downwards, dangling below his parachute, his Mustang burning and tumbling below him. Von Lang and his wingman roar past and head off into the distance, returning home to an uncertain future. But Billy Carter barely registers what is happening. He fades out of consciousness. He is dead before he even hits the ground. Back in the air, Hansen escapes from a bank of cloud. He scans the sky, but he's all alone. Proctor? Sinclair? Carter? God damn it. Anyone? Hansen stares out into the distance and plots his course back to base. Suddenly, there is a noise in his earpiece. Hansen. Damaged. Base. Hansen races toward the airfield. There is at least one more alive. His Mustang touches down upon the runway. He jumps out of the cockpit, scanning the skies and the tarmac. No other planes are in sight. His heart sinks. Did this other Mustang go down? But then, he spots it, in the distance. It's another Mustang. It's Proctor. His plane is badly shot up, but he manages to nurse it in and land successfully. The two men are reunited on the flight line. They are the only American survivors. They stand together in silence, the weight of the day crashing down on them as the reality of peace finally settles in while their friends lie scattered across the Czech countryside. On the German side, Hauptmann von Lang later claimed that the Americans had ignored the surrender order and were still arming up to strafe the airfield after Germany had unconditionally surrendered, thereby justifying his final attack as a last defense of the fatherland. He insisted his men had acted with honor in the face of total defeat, refusing to let the enemy have the final word even as the guns fell silent across Europe. On the very day peace was declared in Europe, 9 German pilots and 4 American pilots were shot down in the last dogfight of the Second World War. For young men who had survived years of hell died in the final minutes of a conflict that had already ended. Their families would receive the telegrams weeks later, long after the victory parades had begun and the world had moved on. If you want to see other incredible stories from the European theater, check out our film War in Europe.